Well, happy Veterans Day, everybody. I couldn't think of a better day to show you around my D4. It's a 5T model, originally delivered to the Army. I've been out in the mud with it, so it's time for a little pressure wash and give it a service and put it away for the winter time. Okay, let's get this thing started up. Pull it into the breezeway. Grease everything. Check one thing, I guess. Had it running just a little bit ago. Yeah, that'll do it.
It ain't got no gas in it.
Even diesels need gasoline. Alright, I can see now I'm going to have to take the fuel tank off and clean it up inside there. There's quite a bit of crud, loose debris in there. All right, well, this thing's been running for a bit. It's up to temperature. The oil pressure was good. That water temperature never came off the lower peg. So it looks like this water temperature, the old style, is finally giving up the ghost. Good news is I do have a new old stock, and I know it's plenty warm. So I had it running for quite a bit. You can see a little bit of steam coming out of there, but yeah, it's warm enough to get the gauge going. I noticed last time I ran it that it wasn't acting quite right. So, okay, let's see what we have here. Looks like good stuff. Original packaging. What we have here is a water temperature, Fahrenheit. Original from the factory in Peoria, part number 6P6795. It's functioning and ready to go back in, it's never been installed in any machine, but it'll go in this 5T. And yeah, original packaging. What do we got here? We're even at the desiccant. Looks like it was packaged in June 1953. So something I do after a pressure wash like that is to go around to the grease fittings, give them a little bit of fresh grease, and hopefully push out any water that may have gotten in there. The previous owner of this machine was a fellow named Armen Hammer. He lived just east of here, about a mile or so, and he'd come by pretty often, ask Dad about how to, maintenance tips on his D4. He'd run the tractor in his apple orchard. He had cows also. We'd go visit him sometimes, and he'd be making the apple juice. He'd run his apples through a crusher, throw them in blankets, and then he'd stack up a series of blankets and lattice work, and then he'd press that whole mess in a hydraulic press. The juice would run off, capture that in jugs, and then he'd feed the dried apples to his cows. It worked pretty good. As a kid, I always thought Armen was kind of a funny name, Armen. It's like Armen Hammer, baking soda company. But Anyway, he was a pretty neat guy. He was a World War II veteran. I don't know what branch of service he was in, but he came over one day and chatting the tractors or the price of labor or something, and I guess we had our Jeep parked out front or something, and triggered one of his memories of the war. He was to be part of the invasion of Japan in the summer and fall of '45, but of course that ended differently, and anyway, he's offshore after the war ended, and they decided, hey, let's I've never seen Japan before. Let's take our shore leave and go off and see what's going on over there. So they did that with a group of guys, and somehow found a Jeep, and they decided, yeah, let's go out and see what this bomb was all about. So they piled in the Jeep, and as they got closer and closer to the ground zero, he didn't think that was very exciting anymore, and he outlined some of the destruction and the misery of the people. And I guess they didn't get very far after that. He decided, let's turn around and go back. I've seen enough. I remember he was kind of lost in the memory, and can kind of see that he drifted back to that time, which was not a very good time. Once he'd seen the destruction, that's about all he had to say about that. He never talked about it again. Just kind of got in his car and said, well, I guess I'll go home now. Anyway, this is Armen's tractor. We're taking care of it. Let's see if we could take a tour of this 5T D4 with our reference book here. D4s, looks like you start with the 7J on this page. And what we have here is a 5T 1886. So that's right smack in the middle of 1945 production. It's a narrow gauge, 44-inch gauge. Pony motor, we do have the electric starter on that, although I don't have any belt on there, and there's no electrical system on this machine. No battery, no generator, so we're keeping it pretty simple here. I prefer it that way. If you can see, there's our tractor numbers, 5T 1886, and it does match the number back on the case. It's a little beat up, but it's there. Yeah, 1886. Clean fuel tank, no dents, no dings. Over here on the injection side, I'm told that the military D4s have this larger governor housing. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to put it out there that that's what I've been told. So let me know if that's wrong, please. I'd sure like to know. So I don't know a lot about these D4s, but this one's quite a bit bigger than the housing on my 7J. Roller frame is in good shape. 4-roller frame. Not a lot of wear on the sprockets. Does have that nice radiator cap still. That captured special nut in the cap. It's always nice to have intact. No belly pan underneath. So, gotta be a little bit careful, I suppose. I don't plan on getting this thing in the rocks anytime soon. And pretty clean on this side as well. I come over here to the back where the lighting's maybe a little bit better. But we've got our 2-spool Tourneau cable control unit. Of course, the D4 is not a live PTO, so that clutch has to be engaged in order for this to operate. 2 spools, so 2 cables going back. One controls the bowl up and down, and with that the cutting edge, of course. Second, a cable controls the apron to raise and lower or open and close. So with the apron fully open, it hits a hard stop, and then the ejector comes forward to push the material out the front for dumping. So what I'll do when I'm using this as a grader is I will run the apron fully up, bring the ejector plate fully forward, so that all that's really exposed is just the cutting edge across the two axles. Gives you really fine control for smoothing out the road. And with the ejector plate fully forward, you're not loading the bowl with material. Over on the data plate, if you can read it, it says Corps of Engineers, U.S. Army, scraper road towed type, 3 1/2 cubic yards. So stock number, make is Tourneau Model D. So serial number, that's S-20954-D. Nothing special on the back. You got your push plate for your helper to come help you load. Well, the steel structure is very straight, although the welding is, in some places, it's atrocious. But that's how it was. That's how things were built back then. There's your tag up front here in the gooseneck. It says a D carryall over a length 21 feet, 0 inches, width 7 feet, and some number of inches, overall height 8 feet, 0. Let's go run it around the road and see if I can smooth things up before the rain comes. I'd say the road came out pretty good. Not too bad for an 80-year-old machine that was never really designed to do fine grade work. But it does okay. I think we're ready for the rain tomorrow. So that's the tour of the 5T D4. Appreciate you watching, and I appreciate all the veterans out there that stood on that wall and defended our freedoms. I appreciate you.